Welcome, everybody. I'm Maya from the Buyers Agent Portugal. We are an exclusive buyers agency who are here to help international buyers buy property in Portugal. Our mission is to make the process as stress-free and as easy as possible. And the way to do that is to look at more have a larger scope than just property and criterias. And one of the topics we want to talk about today is money. And when we think money, we often think about budget, maybe mortgage, but there's one aspect that is very often overlooked, and is the currency risk. We know that because many companies even lose money every month because they're overlooking that aspect. So I'd like to welcome two lovely ladies who are coming from the US. If you ladies would like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Pleasure.
My name is Eva Slavcheva, and this is my colleague Kelly Cutchin, and we are coming from Orlando, Florida. We're with MoneyCorp Currency Exchange. We specialize in international payments, and we're so happy you have us here. And it's my first podcast, I'd like to add, so thank you.
It's my first podcast as well. So let's see how we're doing today. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about how MoneyCorp manage the money aspect of international buyers?
Would you like to go?
Oh my gosh, there's lots of aspects to cover there. So we are often working with clients that are very early on in the process, which is actually fantastic, because what they don't realize is that a lot of things that are going to change from the time they begin that journey to the time that they're actually in their property, right? So what we want to do is make sure that we educate clients, we educate them on currency exchange risk, we keep them abreast of currency exchange fluctuations, we sort of monitor the market and become the client's eyes and ears so they can go about putting their other ducks in a row, right? There's a lot of ducks to get in a row in order to sell a property, to purchase a property, and make sure everything goes smoothly. So we like to take that scary part away and kind of monitor the exchange rate on their behalf.
So when we think about currency specialists, very often we think about just the exchange rate, but I think there's a little bit more nuance to that. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think what makes us different is really our team and the level of service that we provide the clients. We're extremely hands-on. We are happy to help someone if they need to send a rush payment and they're closing tomorrow, but where the client will get the full benefit of the service is if we begin working with them 6 months before or even earlier. We want to understand your plans, your goals, your budgets. We want to hear about your visits, and every step of the way we want to be in touch. And when we do that, the more we know about the client, the better we can help them. And of course, then you have the currency specialist that is assigned to each client, and they are giving them information. This is what's going on in the market. This is upcoming economic events, political news. This is how the euro-dollar exchange rate might be affected. They're helping them make more informed decisions versus someone just doing this on their own on a random day.
So how do you work with a client? So let's say I'm American and I want to buy a property in Portugal, or in your case, anywhere else that has a different currency. What's the process? Would they be talking with you? Would they be talking to the currency expert? Will they be receiving calls every month? Are you going to bother them with information they don't really want to hear about?
Can I just pause? Because I actually think there's a good point that I can add to your previous question, and
Yes.
then maybe you could ask us that question again. Is that okay?
Yeah, go.
So if I could just add, I know you mentioned that many clients are just focused on the exchange rate itself. However, I think that is the case perhaps when working with a British client, but in the US, it's oftentimes something that American customers aren't even considering. What they are thinking of is, oh, it's really unfortunate my bank is going to charge me a fee to do an international transfer. And in the grand scheme of things, that fee might be quite minimal in the process, right? It may be $50, $80 to do an international transfer. It isn't until they're speaking with a specialist that they understand, okay, the exchange rate is going to play a very important role in this process. And I didn't even realize how important until we're able to compare apples to apples with them. Oftentimes when customers start speaking with us, the exchange rate might be X, And then just a couple of days or weeks later into the process, the exchange rate might be Y. And when we start to really educate them on what that cost difference is,
Yes.
they really start to understand the importance. And so when we're able to step in and give them that expert guidance, talk to them about the importance of shopping around and getting the best exchange rate, and also avoiding those bank fees that they were hesitant about up front, and even speaking to them about locking into the exchange rate, then they really understand the value of working with a currency exchange broker.
It's an educational process, and we really love it when a client has their aha moment, and we do encourage them to make the comparison with the bank that they've always used in the past. You'll have clients that say, I've done it 100 times before and it works great. And we have clients that go, I've never done a payment before and I'm really nervous about the whole thing. But we love to explain it to them, have them compare, see the savings, and they feel taken care of. We're looking after them.
There's one aspect as well that I'd like to raise, because I've seen it with clients of mine, is the timing of things. I can think specifically of clients of mine who are very attached to the bank manager. And they felt that they were getting, a good deal. The bank told them, oh, but you're going to have a euro account, so don't worry, you're not going to lose any money. But then later on, we actually did some comparison, and they realized that they weren't getting such a good deal. But on top of that, because banks want to make money on the spread, they sometimes hold the money. So when you have a contract to sign and you've made all the appointments, and the lawyers is saying, well, until I've got the bank in my, the money in my bank account, we can't move forward. That can also bring, stress to both parties, because then the seller will wonder, hold on, are these people serious? Do they actually have the money? So there's all these side effects to using sometimes traditional banks that I suppose you can put away, because you move so much money around and you've got the system in place to make it very simple.
And we can anticipate most of the time what bumps the client might encounter along the way. Most of our clients are buying or selling property internationally, so we're not only going to move their money, but we're going to ask them questions they didn't know they needed to think about. So we are really involved in the process.
It's very interesting, because I hear you talking and it sounds very similar to what Joe and I are doing, for our little, for our part of the process. But you pay a lot of attention to the people, their projects. You try to think and anticipate potential problems. And sometimes it comes back and bites you a little bit, because they haven't had the problem, they think it doesn't exist. But actually they haven't had the problems, because you took that problem away from them before they even got to them. So
I think a lot of it does come from experience, right? So MoneyCorp's been dealing in foreign exchange since the late 70s. I've personally been with MoneyCorp now going on 19 years. Eva's been with us a few years shy of that, but we've lived through other people's experiences. So we've learned along the way the type of hiccups that our clients are potentially going to face. So we try to help make sure they avoid them. To your point, obviously, it's not uncommon for us to produce a letter to explain, okay, they're giving you an American-based bank account statement that has X amount of dollars in it. And then we provide sort of a letter to say, and in today's world, that gives them X amount of buying power based on today's exchange rate. It's not uncommon for us to provide letters explaining to banks and lenders that a customer has X amount of euros on their MoneyCorp account just as in anticipation for closing. There's so many questions that a client doesn't know to ask, right?
Yes.
And they think, oh, I'll wait till Friday to move my funds. Well, they don't know that Monday is a holiday here in Portugal, right? Because it's not a holiday back home. And so we just try to be forward thinking with everything, and try to cross all the T's and dot all the I's that we know our clients are going to have to face.
And something we actually haven't said, but they get all of that for free to a certain extent. They don't pay you a fee to set up the account or anything like that.
There's no cost or obligation for a client to establish an account with MoneyCorp. And to take it a step further, every client of ours is introduced to a dedicated currency exchange expert. people say, okay, but how much do I need to put on my account in order to benefit from that service? Nothing. Set up the account, start having those conversations, start building a relationship with your foreign currency exchange dealer so that as this journey proceeds and you're ready to actively do something, it's not the first time that you ever spoke to somebody or this person about your finances. You're ready to engage in that transaction with them and you feel comfortable having that discussion with them.
So you are telling me that they won't talk to you anymore? Because you're going to lose clients if you say that. I think they'll want to keep talking with you.
We can oversee, and we do oversee the client's experience throughout the process. The one part Kelly and I do not do is actually securing the trade for them. That's done directly
with... That's a specialist.
That's the specialist, yes. But we will certainly help them along the way.
Okay.
And we definitely want to keep in touch because the next time Eva and I come to Portugal, we want to make sure that we're invited to come and visit you in your new property. So definitely not going to lose contact with us completely.
That's a very clever way. So I'd like to change a little bit topic. I know that you guys have been traveling a little bit, attending different conferences of Americans looking to move to Portugal. So I wanted to exchange a little bit thoughts and insights on what you've been seeing, because obviously you attend these conferences year on year. Do you see a shift in the market, whether it's from a budget standpoint, the profile of the people, the length of times? Can you give us your key takeaways from these conferences?
I just completed several this year so far, and I will say since 2025, the timeline of these potential buyers has shortened. In previous conferences, clients would mention retiring in a few years or planning a visit next year. It was usually a 3 to 5 year future plan. Okay. Recent clients I met in conferences initially had that idea, and as of January, February of this year, they thought, no, we will go very soon. We will go this year. So the timeline shortened. They're much more eager and ready to be boots on the ground looking at properties.
Okay. Do you feel that, historically, Portugal was always attracting retirees or pre-retirees. Do you see a shift with younger family, digital workers, entrepreneurs? Do you see any of that?
Yes. I know, I certainly see a shift in it, and you're exactly right. The objective for many people historically has been retirees. They were looking, where can I get affordable health care? Where can I have a different lifestyle or lower my cost of living? Where can I go that I can continue to live off of my Social Security or pension payments? While that still remains attractive, you do have an entire different generation that's going, I can live and work wherever I want to. I can have a hybrid or remote working environment. In some instances, it's about lifestyle, but some are concerned about safety, security. They no longer have the comfort that they maybe historically had in their communities. And I think the other thing is a lot of people have gone, and where it may have been a very foreign idea to have a property in Portugal, it's not as foreign or scary anymore because I probably have some friends or family members that have done it, and I feel more comfortable, and I want to enjoy those experiences with them now in Portugal as well.
Well, to people who are listening, just to give some numbers, I think we are now looking at about 20,000 Americans who moved to Portugal, and we've seen a growth year on year of about 30 to 40%. They expect that number to reach about 25K this year alone. So definitely we can see that there's still a lot of interest for Portugal. I know that we are competing with other foreign countries, but we won't talk about them.
On our end, Portugal is the hot spot. That's where we see the most of the payments go.
Well,
so you
that's
are
good
winning.
For us.
You
yes,
are winning.
No, that's good for us, and we're very happy because we think that it's a country that has a lot to offer. And when you look at moving to start a new life, you need to look at different aspects, whether it's healthcare, as you say, security, the tax environment, the type of property, the affordability of the day-to-day life. So, so it's very interesting because from our side, we've also seen that shift in profile. whereas before we had a lot of, retirees coming, or some buying a second home in view to move here and then sell and then get their house of their dream. We definitely seen a lot more families, younger people, digital nomads. We've taken advantage of the different visas and the different tax breaks. The Portuguese government is trying to really incentivize younger generation, either it's Portuguese who live abroad, but also foreigners to come. So they're cutting the IRS rate. I think if it's up the age of 35, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and you get tax break like that. And I think all of that is bringing a different vibe. So for us who are based in the Algarve, we see the trickle-down effect often in the media. All you hear is about the negatives. Property prices are so expensive, but actually there's a lot of positives. You have new business who have developed here, a lot of restaurants, a lot more activity for children. Even me who moved 4 years ago, there was a lot less thing to do. You had a lot of areas of the Algarve who you would literally say it's dead in the winter. There's very few areas where you would say that now. There's life all throughout the year. So there's a lot of positive of having all of this influx of foreigners and obviously Americans who have taken over the French in 2022, I'd like to say, because we used to get the finger pointed at us, for saying that we are, coming to Portugal.
I think the Americans really enjoy the fact that Portugal seems to take a real positive step in regards to green space, right? The new communities and the new developments that you see around here, they are built with lots of green space in the middle. Of course, you have the coast and the ocean, and you see parks and different playgrounds and things.
Yes.
So it is really a community that spends time outside, right? It's walkable. Many Americans don't come from cities that are walkable. Of course, some of us do, but it's just the charm and the sense of community and family and the inviting aspect and energy that Portugal gives off. I think Americans truly enjoy.
So it's a very interesting point, because as buyer's agent, one of the things that we really do is spending time understanding what lifestyle a client is looking to have in Portugal. Because believe it or not, for such a small country, you can have different way of living, whether you're in a Lisbon or in a Porto, you're in the Alentejo, or even in the Algarve. Between east to west, you've got different lifestyle, you've got different climate, you've got different central points. And I think that makes it a really interesting destination, because, you can move, for instance, to the Eastern Algarve and then move somewhere else later on, if you find that your lifestyle of your needs are changing. This is, what I'll be doing personally. We were spending a lot of time in the Eastern Algarve, and for different reasons, we're going to go a little bit more central. So you also have the ability to move. And then one of the aspects I think that is really good for the Americans is the fact that practically everyone speaks English here.
Oh, yes. We've been
And
so
it's
welcomed.
accessible.
Yes.
Yes. I've been really, really surprised. Beyond how welcoming people are, it's just the facility to adapt. I've been an expat for 20 years now, lived in really different countries, and Portugal was, I would say, my easiest move, because everything was simple for me. Yes, okay, there's a bit of administration, but who am I to talk? I'm French. But there's a lot of aspects where you can go into the supermarket and you will find people speaking English. I guarantee you that will not happen in Italy or in France, for instance. Hardly in Spain as well, from my travels there. So it makes the transition, a lot easier, because it is a big move. America, the way of living in America, the access to service, the notion of service, and what we've got in Europe is completely different. So, and I think sometimes Americans don't really think about that, that aspect. We don't have the same level of convenience that you guys, have back home. So it's that language makes it, a bit smooth transition.
Absolutely. at the conference, one thing that is for sure similar with everyone that we speak to is they are really looking forward to the ability to move around, right? So they may come to the Algarve, but they realize that on a weekend they could go visit many other places. Living in Florida, I could drive 8 hours and still be in my state. Here, if you drive 8 hours, I don't even know where I could end up, but I could certainly do a whole lot more exploring here. So I think that's another very attractive thing is just the location, the central location, the accessibility. Eva and I flew here, but we're taking a train tomorrow. So public transportation is just very convenient here. And again, if it's something that you're not accustomed to, back home, I never ride the train. Here, it could be intimidating, but when I arrive there, there's many, many people that are smiling and willing to lend a hand and help us too. Lost Americans get around the train station. So it's very nice to have that opportunity to move around here.
And there's more and more flights we're noticing from the U.S. to Portugal, making it even more accessible and showing to the growing number of Americans coming.
Yes, we're hoping the new work Faro will finally take off in May. So that would be fantastic. And we expect that will make, Algarve maybe as a first option easier for certain Americans. But I want to say before we move on that it's lovely that you do not come here, you do not live here, but you come very often and you're giving a very honest opinion and feedback on the pros of living in Portugal. So thank you for that. You've made my work a little bit easy.
Well, we find a lot of our American clients go to Lisbon first. They might pop up to Porto, do the wine tasting, which is very good. But when they make their way down to the Algarve, they notice, of course, the weather, the views, the slower pace, but also the community, and they enjoy it.
Yeah, and the reality is if you're in the Algarve and you want to go to Lisbon, you're 2.5 hours drive, or a 50 minutes flight to Porto, and you've got daily flights. So if you feel like you need to have a little bit of glass of port or some wine from the Douro Valley directly from the source, you have the opportunity to do so. So I want to go back onto your core businesses, and obviously, even if you're trying to hide, you can't get away from the current situation and what's happening in the economy, the tariffs in the US. We've got some, different policies around the world, and that makes obviously currency risk going a lot higher. So, what would you say to people who are looking to make the move to Europe and to Portugal these next 6 to 12 months? What would be your advice in terms of the exchange rate? Would you recommend them to lock right now? Would you tell them to wait and see? Would you say, we can't really predict anything?
Well, we can't really predict anything, but no one has a crystal ball. But it is in unpredictable times, you should be paying even more attention. Obviously, if that is your plan to move to Portugal this year or beginning of next year, you should be thinking about your budget, because maybe your budget is a property of 500,000 euro. Well, what does it really cost in dollars? And how will the exchange rate shifting really affect your real cost in dollars? Tariffs, which were announced in February, March of this year, we noticed a huge move in the rate. We've had clients that were budgeting to buy that property in Portugal when the exchange rate was 103, 104, and then it jumped to 108 within the same week. Well, some of those clients paid extra because they had to, thousands and thousands extra to buy that same property, but some clients pulled out. Maybe you couldn't afford it. And that would happen if you're not planning ahead. I think speaking with your currency dealer is key early on, planning ahead. And if there are pockets of opportunity when the euro dips, you maybe could purchase a portion of your euros. Maybe you should explore the forward contract. Either way, you shouldn't be making the reactionary decision the day before you're closing and just wiring.
Yeah, I think it's a really important point. Again, when you speak with people, they think exchange rate, and they look at numbers, but they don't exactly understand how it correlates. But we really are talking about the erosion of your purchase power, and that can really make a big difference. If you're talking big numbers, as you say, some clients may have the ability to stretch the budget, but some may be, strict onto the budget and not have the ability to move one way or the other. So it's really important that they think about that ahead.
And it's not, again, a few $100 difference.
Yes.
It's usually quite a significant
Absolutely.
amount.
Yes.
And yes, it's a little chaotic in the US right now. People are more nervous than they were in previous years. We are seeing clients emptying out their investments and selling their US businesses and properties and looking to put their money elsewhere. And of course, relocate and start a new lifestyle as well. Maybe some people even say the US dollar is it still a safe haven currency? It's always been. Is it losing its luster a little bit? But at the end of the day, again, no one has a crystal ball, but you should be taking advantage of the rate, even when it dips a little in your favor.
I think what we've recognized as well is not all of our clients fit into the same basket. In reality, not all of our clients fit in the same 100 different baskets. So it is important to have that personalized discussion with an expert that can help give you some guidance. For some clients, it might be, okay, let's buy all of your euros now in anticipation for your move in the future. It may be, let's do a forward contract where we lock into today's exchange rate, but you leave the majority of your funds in whatever investment accounts that you have in the US. Maybe you need to still sell your property, but you don't want to lose out on the opportunity to go ahead and buy euros now. Maybe you're going to have monthly requirements to convert your currency going forward. So again, it's so relative to every client that we really just want to have the opportunity to speak to them, answer their questions that they didn't even know they had, and provide them the expert guidance. And then at the end of the day, make sure that they are getting the best rate of exchange, the most bang for your buck, whatever term you want to use. You do need to make sure that you're getting a favorable exchange rate for your hard-earned dollars when you're looking to convert those into whatever currency you require.
Perfect. I want to talk about some of your competition, and one of the names that keeps coming up is Wise. And when we've been talking with our clients, because we try to make them aware of all of these aspects which are part of of their move or the purchase of a property. Very often we just hear, either I'm going to use my bank, we've already covered that topic, or, Wise is super easy, I can just press the button and then I'll exchange my money. Many people are using it. So what would you say to people who say that to you, what would be your added value in comparison to a Wise, for instance?
Well, Wise I think they're a fantastic company. But they are an app. It starts and ends with an online platform. So there is no one hand-holding you. There is no one really giving you guidance on the market or discussing your plans and doing all the things we chatted about. So it's up to you to log in when you think the rate is good and press the button and press send. But then there might be other additional documents required. Maybe you're transferring a large amount of money. Maybe you need a proof of source of funds, an attestation letter for that property purchase. And as soon as you hit those moments of you're requiring something additional, who's going to help you? You have a question, you're not sure who's going to help you. You're looking at an IBAN number. We don't have IBAN numbers in the US. Where do I put that? These types of questions. Can you help me? I'm nervous about entering the bank details online. So that's where we are very different. We are very hands-on with our clients. We educate, we explain, we walk them through the process, and planning ahead. And I don't believe they offer forward contracts as well.
No, I don't believe so. I mean, when I've spoken with client, obviously it was someone who would do basically the work of your expert and spending, days looking at different rates. And you could argue, well, when you have specialists and expert, why waste the time of trying to go through that learning curve when you can use experts and get the information like this and not have any risk as if you're doing it by yourself?
I think time and time again we hear, The reason they chose to use MoneyCorp is because there's human interaction. I have a personalized, contact that I can pick up the phone and speak to. I have their email address, and I can talk to the same person every time. We're not just going to give you an 800 number and forward you to a call center. You're going to have a relationship with Eva, Kelly, Darren, you name it. You're going to talk to the same person and have that bespoke point of contact. The other thing I would say is, there was another thing actually.
They are more built for quick, small payments. If a client tells me I need to send $500 to my friend in Portugal, honestly, use Wise. That's a perfect reason to use Wise. But if you're telling me you're moving your life savings and you want to get the best timing and exchange rate, call us.
That's exactly it.
I can read her mind.
And I'm sure they will fix all of that.
I can see you guys know exactly what you're talking about. Well, I think it's time maybe to wrap up.
I didn't mean to pause you, but I thought about something, and we could edit. But as you were asking us about the difference between Wise and MoneyCorp, it makes me think the difference between you as the buyer's agent and many other companies. So,
well, thank you for asking the questions. So I'm going to have to backtrack a little bit as to the reason why. So the concept of the buyer's agent isn't new. We haven't invented it. It's well known and well developed in the US, where when you have a real estate transaction, you have a broker on the sell side representing the interest of the seller, and you have a buyer's side broker for the buyer. And the two brokers interact together to, negotiate the best deal for each of these partners. Unfortunately, for most of European countries, you do not have that set up. You hear time and time again about real estate agencies, but these are actually listing agencies. So they are contracted by the seller to promote and sell their house. So de facto, the loyalty sits with the seller. So when I started in Portugal, I was with a listing, I was with a listing agency, and I naturally gravitated towards the buyers. I think for different reasons. The first one is I've traveled and moved time and time again, so I know how stressful it can be. I could put myself in their shoes of this idea of, I'm starting a new life, or I'm putting all my life savings or the inheritance I've done. And I felt that I had to safeguard that aspect. But as very often with my business partner, Joe, we were arguing because he will say, but Maya, you work for the listing agency. Therefore, your client is not the buyer, but the seller. And bizarrely enough, if you talk with real estate agents, they don't seem to really get it. And even if they want to do a great job and really try to provide a good service to the buyer, you can't get away from the business model. So
you found your true calling in the process.
Yes, I absolutely. I mean, I enjoyed helping when I was with the previous agency so many buyers. I enjoy working with the buyers. I enjoy the process of understanding them, getting to know them, and many of them are friends now. And we see each other very regularly because they share their fear, they share their hopes, and they trust you. They really put their trust into your hands. So I wanted to break a little bit in the market and propose a real buyer's agent. And an exclusive service, and I approached Joe because he had a lot of experience, and we come from different angles, so we bring different skill set to the table, and I think that makes us, a very strong team. And the way we did it is we just do that. We're not jack of all trades, master of none. We are just buyer's agent, and then afterwards we find the best in the market for their own expertise, like you ladies. I would not try to be a currency specialist, but I will try to find for my client and for that particular profile the best possible. And we found that it's a service that is really liked and appreciated, particularly from the Anglo-Saxon market. Because we don't have an MLS, we don't have the level of transparency that you guys have in the US. It's really difficult to understand what's going on. Am I buying at the right price? Is everything registered for that property? How much is it going to cost me to renovate? Joe would walk in a house, and in 5 minutes, I'll redesign the house and tell you how much it will cost you effectively. Yeah. And I think when you are someone who's from abroad, you don't know. You know your price in the US, maybe. Exactly. You know how much it will cost you. But to have that right there, right now, information, and being able to say, okay, if I make the numbers work or no, they don't. They don't work. I'm a stickler for overpriced properties. You could ask Joey, will tell you everywhere, well, this is too expensive, So I want to make sure our clients get the best value. Like you say, we don't have a crystal ball. I don't know where the market will go. But what I know is plans change. A lot of people move here and they think they're going to be here their whole life. And maybe someone gets sick. Maybe they want to go somewhere else. I think our job is to make sure that what we presented them and the property they bought can sustain the ups and downs of the market and give them the best chance to resell if they need to, and it doesn't sit on the market for a year. So we're loving what we're doing. I think we're bringing something different, to the market, and
Maya, I know you have the data to support it, but are you feeling like the amount of interest from Americans is on the rise? Have you seen that number increase?
I think generally speaking, yes. I think overall the market has slowed down. There's a lot of wait and see. I think there's a lot of people who are... So either you've got the knee-jerk reaction, usually because you're not happy with the political environment. I'm leaving right now, And so you've got people making the move. We see that also from the UK market. People saying enough is enough. We're not happy with that, whatever you agree or not with it. We see still the interest, but the FOMO that we had post-COVID, for me, that's not where we are at the moment. I used to have clients, and I used to have to tell them, if you don't buy today, I can't promise you the property will be there tomorrow. We're not in that configuration. And it's a very interesting market here in terms of, it doesn't just rely on offer and demand. There's lots of different, aspects because of inheritance tax and how property stays in the families, and there's no pressure to sell. The profile of the people who come here, if you are a retiree, maybe the investment angle is not as important to you. And I remember when I moved here, and that was even before I started to work in real estate, I was sitting, and there was this French retiree man, and he was speaking with his friends on the phone, and he said, well, okay, it's a bit expensive, but maybe I only have 10 years to live, so I don't care. I'm just going to buy it and enjoy my life. And it really hit me, and I thought, yes, absolutely. Maybe for me, I'll look at things differently because I need that ability to move and sell, and the investment angle is important. But maybe for these people it's different, so they'll have different drivers on the market. But yes, we see a lot of Americans still wanting to come, changing the profile, changing the budget, slightly lower budget than before.
Well, the word is out. The word is spreading. Portugal is beautiful.
Yes.
The people are amazing. We enjoy the food. We enjoy the wine. But again, thank you so much for having us.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. And we'll go for a drink now. We'll try that wine. Take care.